So let me go ahead and change that back. So that'll be our get method. And then I'm going to create another method, another action that looks exactly the same. And the only difference is going to be the parameters that this method takes. And in this case, I'll do a string username, string password, bool remember me. And since we don't have anything to really authenticate against at this point, I'm just going to do return. Ooh. Actually, I'll do string response text equals username colon username password colon password remember me colon remember me to string. So then we'll return content of the response text. Yes.
Does C# have string interpolation?
Yes. Well, what do you mean by that?
Like you just have your string input, like sort of special identifier that into variables.
Yes, they call it, the string format is what that's referred to as. Yes. So an alternate way to write this would be string response text 2 equals string dot format username password remember me so you could write it that way. And each one of these curly bracket numbers represents the parameter by an order.
Okay, you can't just do like a dictionary or something? And then just have it based on?
No, not that way. So, yeah, it's based on index. So both of these lines give you the same result, just if you're curious. It's just two different ways of doing it. The latter one is nicer, especially when you have large blocks of text and you're trying to build that formatted so it's easily readable. And then these numbers, again, just correspond to which item are they in the parameter list. 0 is the first one, 1, and 2. So I use this style a lot when I'm building out emails. And I put them in either a text file or something else. And then I'll put some sort of comment in the text file that says, parameter 0 is this value, 1 is this value, kind of a thing. And then I have the ability to go through and then manipulate that text file outside of the web app so I don't have to recompile, and then I just suck that in as my string and then push out my parameters. All right, so my goal here is simply to take the values that were typed into the text boxes on the login form and just spit them back out to the screen. I'm not doing anything fancy, it's just a raw dump, just to show that I received the text and I was able to respond back. So I'll go ahead and run. We don't need that page. So I'll go ahead and hit login here. So what it's saying here is that remember me is a non-nullable type. It's expecting a value to come back. I checked the box. At least I thought I checked it. So it should be. So that means that my names aren't matching between my view. Not sure why.
And then we got to capital L, capital E.
The capitalization shouldn't matter. It should be able to pick them up either way. Let's try it again. Alright, well. The easiest way to fix this is we can set a default. So basically we're saying if remember me is not defined, default it to false. Another little trick, and you'll see me do this more often, is that there's two ways to do a debug. You can actually start debugging, or you can start without debugging. I recommend the latter, and then you can attach the debugger after the fact. And the reason that I suggest this approach is because every time you need to make a code change, you have to stop everything, which includes IIS Express, make your change, and then start it up again. And it's very slow to get up and going. It takes that whole 15, 20 seconds. So running it this way, we'll start up IIS Express. It'll start it as a separate thread or process, and then it'll keep it running until you close down Visual Studio. We can make our changes, rebuild inside of Visual Studio, and then flip back to the browser and simply refresh and wait for that JIT compiling to happen. And then at that point, the page will load. So it cuts your downtime in about half. And then when you need to actually debug, then you attach the debugger manually from within Visual Studio, and I'll walk you through how to do that. So here is our tests. We'll hit login. So there's our username. My password was just test. And that remember me still isn't binding, so I'll figure out what's going on there. Came back as false. But we got at least the text box values coming through successfully.
Did you change to fix it?
What did I change to fix what?
Beginning.
In the parameter, when it says cool, remember me, you can say equals false. I'll flip back so you can see that. So up here.
And I just give it a default value.
Yes. Yeah.
So going back to security, is there like a sort of widely used or sort of like default hashing libraries? Stuff like this or that?
Are you looking at hashing it on the client side?
No.
Or just hashing in general?
Like before you put it in the database, create an account or compare it.
Typically you see the MD5 hashes are often used. SHA1 I've seen used as well. They both are supported within the .NET framework under system.cryptography.
Okay.
So they're both in there, so you can use them out of box. So there's no need to download third-party tools to do it. The reason I asked if you're talking about client side, I've seen implementations where I think they do the SHA1 on the client, so they'll do it in JavaScript before they ship it. So it kind of adds to that layer of security thing where on the off chance it's not SSLized or you just want to be extra careful, you can encrypt on the client before you ever ship the data. But it's really one-way encryption. You're hashing. You're not doing a true encryption. Problems I've seen is that, as with most things, you have different companies writing different browsers, implementing things in different ways, and one company's client implementation of some math component that JavaScript library uses does not jive with everyone else's implementation. I know specifically that there was an implementation within Safari. There was a commonly used hashing algorithm that did not work correctly in Safari. It was like 1 out of every 3 times it would fail. It would work, it would hash, but the hash was completely unmatchable to whatever was being shipped. I've seen that being used for verifying that data isn't being compromised during transmission. So while you're encrypting your transmission, you create a hash of a password, you send both the hash and the clear text, and then you rehash the clear text on the server, and you verify that the hash matches from what came from the browser and what came from the server. So it's basically to say, did this get intercepted, and did that clear text password change? Again, because of those JavaScript inconsistencies, you run into problems. So that's probably more than you need to know, but there you go. Tiny brain dumps.